Look at your hands for a moment, then imagine millions of invisible cells carrying a biological story written long before birth. Every small cut, medical test, or blood donation quietly depends on information flowing through your veins. Yet most people rarely question its remarkable history. You've probably learned that humans belong to only 4 main blood types, and for many years, that simple explanation seemed complete. Hospitals around the world still organize millions of life-saving transfusions using those familiar blood groups, proving their importance in modern medicine every single day. But as scientists compared ancient skeletons, modern DNA, and isolated communities, unexpected patterns slowly began appearing beneath that familiar classification. Researchers realized the story surrounding blood was never limited to hospital records. It stretched across migrations, survival, disease, and thousands of years of human history. Imagine standing beside a prehistoric campfire where families unknowingly carried genetic differences that would quietly travel across continents with every new generation. Those invisible differences helped shape how populations adapted to changing environments, deadly infections, and unfamiliar climates without anyone understanding the hidden biological reasons. Centuries later, physicians struggled because blood transfusions often failed, leaving patients dying despite desperate attempts to save their lives through generous donations. Everything changed when careful observation revealed that human blood was not identical, opening one of medicine's greatest scientific discoveries during the 20th century. Even after identifying the famous A, B, AB, and O groups, researchers continued uncovering surprising blood markers beyond those familiar names and letters. Today, genetic technology allows scientists to examine blood with remarkable precision, revealing complexity that early doctors could never have imagined during their pioneering research. Still, one important question refuses to disappear if blood seems far more complicated. Why does almost everyone only recognize 4 basic types? The answer reaches beyond laboratories into forgotten migrations, ancient epidemics, isolated populations, and evolutionary choices made long before written history ever existed. Evidence collected from archaeology, anthropology, and genetics continues reshaping our understanding. Yet many discoveries remain incomplete because nature rarely leaves perfect records behind. Each new DNA sample, recovered from ancient remains, adds another small piece, while simultaneously raising entirely new questions about humanity's shared biological journey. The truth is not that the familiar blood groups are wrong, but that their story is only the visible beginning of something much deeper. Before we understand why 4 blood types became so important, we must first travel back thousands of years to the earliest human communities. Because hidden inside humanity's oldest migrations lies the remarkable journey that transformed simple blood into one of history's greatest scientific mysteries. Long before hospitals existed, small bands of hunter-gatherers crossed African grasslands carrying inherited blood traits without understanding their biological importance. Around 70,000 years ago, some families began leaving Africa, following coastlines, rivers, and changing climates toward unfamiliar lands across Eurasia. These travelers encountered freezing winters, dense forests, dangerous predators, and unfamiliar diseases that tested every generation struggling to survive together. Archaeological discoveries reveal campsites, stone tools, and ancient human remains marking these remarkable journeys, although soft tissues like blood disappeared thousands of years ago. Instead of preserved blood, scientists examine ancient DNA recovered from teeth and dense bones, carefully rebuilding pieces of humanity's forgotten biological history. Evidence suggests early populations became separated for thousands of years by mountains, deserts, glaciers, and vast oceans, limiting regular contact between communities. Isolation allowed certain inherited genetic traits, including blood-related variations, to become increasingly common within some regions through countless generations. Meanwhile, other groups continued migrating, meeting distant communities, exchanging knowledge, marrying outsiders, and passing their genes into entirely new populations. Ancient farming villages gradually replaced wandering lifestyles, bringing larger populations together where infectious diseases spread more easily than ever before. Many researchers believe disease pressures influenced which genetic traits became more common, although exact historical causes remain difficult to prove with certainty. The famous ABO blood groups likely existed long before civilization, quietly accompanying humans as cities, kingdoms, and trade routes slowly appeared. Merchants carried goods across deserts and seas, unknowingly carrying inherited blood group genes between distant cultures through generations of family relationships. Historical records describe devastating epidemics. Yet ancient people never understood invisible biological differences influencing survival among neighboring communities. Modern researchers remain cautious because survival depended upon countless environmental, nutritional, and genetic factors working together rather than blood groups alone. Even so, comparisons between ancient genomes and modern populations reveal remarkable continuity linking today's families with people living thousands of years earlier. Every recovered skeleton becomes another silent witness, preserving clues about migration, ancestry, and biological diversity beneath weathered bones and forgotten burial grounds. The deeper archaeologists dig into humanity's past, the clearer one surprising truth becomes: our blood carries echoes of extraordinary ancient journeys. Yet history alone cannot explain why these familiar blood types formed, survived, and spread across continents despite countless generations of human change. To understand that mystery, scientists turned away from excavation sites and began exploring the remarkable instructions hidden inside human DNA itself. Inside, nearly every human cell sits a tiny instruction manual called DNA, carrying genetic information inherited through countless generations of ancestors. Among thousands of genes, one called ABO helps determine which markers appear on the surface of red blood cells. These markers act like biological identity badges, allowing the immune system to recognize familiar cells while detecting potentially dangerous foreign substances. If someone receives incompatible blood, the immune system can attack donated cells, creating life-threatening reactions requiring immediate medical attention. That discovery transformed medicine, making blood transfusions far safer and saving millions of lives through carefully matched donations every single year. Scientists discovered that the A, B, and O versions are different forms of the same gene inherited from parents. Every person receives one ABO gene from each parent, creating combinations that produce the familiar AB, or O blood groups. Another important system, called the Rh factor, adds positive or negative classifications, creating the 8 blood types commonly recognized worldwide today. However, researchers soon realized the story did not end there because red blood cells carry many additional surface molecules beyond ABO. Today, scientists recognize more than 40 blood group systems containing hundreds of different blood antigens important during specialized medical treatments and transfusions. Most people never hear about these additional systems because ABO and Rh solve the majority of routine transfusion situations encountered daily. Researchers continue studying why different blood group variations became common in particular regions while remaining relatively uncommon in other human populations. One leading theory suggests certain blood group variations offered limited advantages against specific infectious diseases under particular environmental conditions throughout history. For example, evidence indicates blood type can influence susceptibility to some illnesses, although no blood type guarantees protection from disease. Scientists emphasize that lifestyle, healthcare, environment, vaccination, and countless genetic factors remain far more important than blood type alone. Ancient DNA research now allows experts to compare modern populations with people who lived thousands of years before recorded history began. Those comparisons reveal that familiar blood groups already existed among ancient communities, quietly passing through generations as civilizations rose and disappeared. Yet one mystery still remains because scientists continue investigating why humanity preserved these different blood groups instead of gradually losing most variations. The answer may reveal not only how our ancestors survived changing worlds, but also why every drop of blood still carries echoes of humanity's extraordinary past. Today, every blood donation quietly connects modern medicine with an evolutionary story that began long before the first cities appeared. The familiar 4 blood types remain scientifically correct, yet they represent only one important chapter inside humanity's far larger biological history. Researchers now understand that blood carries evidence of ancient migrations, inherited adaptations, and countless generations linked through shared ancestry across continents. Every newborn inherits genetic instructions, shaped by parents, grandparents, and distant ancestors, whose names disappeared long before written history existed. That invisible connection reminds us our bodies preserve historical information even when monuments collapse, languages vanish, and civilizations fade into memory forever. Scientists continue discovering ancient DNA from caves, burial sites, and forgotten settlements, adding remarkable details to humanity's expanding biological family tree. Each discovery answers one question while creating several new ones, proving science grows stronger by accepting uncertainty instead of chasing perfect certainty. Many people wonder whether one blood type is better, stronger, or more special than another, but evidence does not support that belief. Doctors emphasize that every blood type serves essential medical purposes, because compatible donations save lives regardless of inherited biological differences between individuals. Rare blood donors often become especially valuable, because matching unusual blood characteristics can make life-saving treatment possible for patients facing complex medical conditions. This reminds us that biological diversity is not a weakness, but one reason humanity has survived changing climates, diseases, and environments for thousands of years. The same diversity visible inside our blood also appears within languages, cultures, appearances, traditions, and genetic histories across every populated continent today. Despite these differences, modern DNA research consistently shows that all living humans share remarkably recent common ancestors compared with our planet's immense history. Beneath different blood groups, skin colors, and cultures, humanity remains one closely connected family carrying the same remarkable evolutionary story together. Perhaps the greatest lesson hidden inside our blood is not about division, but about connection reaching across geography, history, and countless forgotten generations. Every drop flowing through your veins carries evidence of survival, adaptation, migration, and resilience written silently by nature across thousands of remarkable years. The next time someone mentions only 4 blood types, remember that those familiar letters reveal just the beginning of humanity's extraordinary biological journey. Our blood does not simply identify us inside hospitals. It quietly preserves echoes of ancient worlds that helped shape every person alive today. If this journey changed how you see your own blood, subscribe and continue exploring the hidden stories science still uncovers about humanity every single day.